Hey everyone. So here's what's really exciting. More and more analysts are coming together on this idea that the market's getting ready to take off again, and XRP's right there with it. I'm actually going to walk you through what a bunch of different XRP chart analysts are saying in this video, including one guy who thinks this cooling off period we've been in, yeah, that's wrapping up soon. And get this, he's throwing out some seriously high price targets. Look, I'll be honest with you, it's really tough for me to wrap my head around the idea that all these analysts could be completely off base here. We're talking about even the more cautious, conservative voices saying there's a genuine shot at XRP hitting double-digit prices, even the conservative ones. So what are the odds they're all missing something? I mean, come on, based on everything I've seen, tracking this specific group of XRP chart analysts over time, when they start singing the same tune like this, they're pretty much always on point. What they say is likely to happen actually does happen the vast majority of the time. Sure, sometimes the unexpected throws us a curveball. I'm not saying it's set in stone or anything, but seriously, folks, what do you think is most likely to play out here? So anyway, I think you're really going to enjoy what I've got to share with you in this video. And yeah, if I had to make a call, I'd say we're looking at a move back to the upside. That's what seems to be in the cards, and it's looking like it's going to happen. But hey, before we dive any deeper into this, I really need to get something straight with you. I don't have any professional background in this stuff whatsoever. I'm absolutely not giving you financial advice here, and you should definitely not make any buying or selling decisions based on anything I'm telling you or writing about. Got it? All right, now here's the thing. Don't get too comfortable seeing XRP sitting at that price you're looking at right now, $3.19. If these analysts know what they're talking about, it's not going to stay that affordable for much longer. Now check this out. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael that he dropped just yesterday. He said, retail FOMO hasn't even begun yet. If you're calling the cycle top already, you should just quit trading. This game isn't for you. And you know what, folks? I think he's absolutely spot on with that. There are actually several ways you can verify this for yourself too. Here's one method I've been talking about quite a bit. You can dive into search terms for Bitcoin, XRP, crypto, really any of those keywords, and just plug them into Google Trends to see what comes up. And guess what? He's totally right about this. Your everyday regular people just aren't really tuned into this stuff yet. You do get a little spike in interest when a coin starts moving, which is exactly what we saw happen with XRP recently. And actually, get this, XRP searches ended up overtaking Bitcoin searches. I covered this in a video just a few days back, and man, it was really something to see more people worldwide searching for XRP than Bitcoin. But even with that happening, I totally think he's nailed it here. The general public, the everyday folks, they're just not hanging around the crypto space yet. But here's what's interesting. Bitcoin's price has been climbing and the altcoins have been following right along. I mean, sure, we've definitely seen our fair share of pullbacks throughout 2025, but things are starting to get exciting again. So what's the deal here? Well, check out this post from chart analyst Zoom. He's got this charting screen showing Bitcoin new addresses, which is that green line you're looking at, the yellow line. That's Bitcoin's price. And this is really fascinating stuff. So here's what he's saying. Bitcoin is up 2x from when it was last at $60,000 around August 2024, yet new address creation is still flat at those same levels. Why is this interesting? Retail isn't piling in yet, like previous cycles. This rally looks driven by existing players or institutions. And folks, he's absolutely nailed it here. You can see this pattern in Google Trends. You can see it right here with the account creation and new addresses. It's pretty clear what's happening. We're seeing massive amounts of institutional money flowing in, and there's actually tons of data to back this up. So here's something to really think about. Bitcoin's price is sitting where it is, close to $120,000. XRP is at $3.19 right now as we speak. And here's the kicker. That's all happening without the absolute mania that typically hits at the end of these market cycles. So what do you think is going to happen when regular people actually start pouring in? I'm telling you, the higher these prices climb, the more likely it becomes that everyday retail investors get curious and jump in. It's all about human psychology, and honestly, it's pretty backwards, but it's the truth. People just don't want to throw serious money at something when the price is low or when it's moving sideways or trending down. I mean, that would actually be the smart play, but that's not how most people think. But when prices start shooting up, especially when you get that end of cycle mania kicking in, oh man, then suddenly everyone wants a piece of the action. So as soon as you start seeing those wild headlines about crypto taking off, Bitcoin going nuts, XRP exploding, the whole market just going crazy, you're going to see a massive wave of fresh money flooding in here. Just think about it for a second. Prices are already sitting where they are right now, and none of that mainstream rush has even started yet. This thing is going to get absolutely wild before it's all said and done. I really think Zoom hit the nail on the head pointing this out. It's just going to get completely insane. There's no other way to put it. Here's a post from chart analyst Rect Capital with a Bitcoin USD chart, and he's saying, after a brief downside deviation below the range, Bitcoin is trying to reclaim the range low as support once again. This is the second downside deviation below the range this week. However, already there are initial signs of the downside deviations potentially getting shallower, as evidenced by the emerging early stage higher low. All right, let me break that down in plain English for you. Bitcoin's getting ready to move higher, which is exactly what you'd want to see as we're heading toward the end of this cycle. We're talking about that final parabolic run that's building up. And here's what happens next. Altcoins follow Bitcoin's lead. But here's the really exciting part. Altcoins don't just follow, they absolutely crush Bitcoin's performance. That's exactly what we're looking at here, folks. If history decides to repeat itself like it usually does. Here's a post from chart analyst Khalil, and he's totally on the same page with this. Looking at Bitcoin, he says, looks ready to send straight to new all-time high. And this was just yesterday, by the way. So he's thinking this is the moment we've been waiting for. Whether it happens today, tomorrow, or just in the very near future, he's convinced it's about to go down. And here's the thing. He's definitely not the only one thinking this way. Here's a post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto, and he's saying, Bitcoin followed exactly as I predicted. Now run it higher to an all-time high. And this is exactly what I keep seeing everywhere. There's just this widespread expectation that this is going to happen. Honestly, it would be pretty strange if it didn't at this point. I mean, this has been the pattern in literally every cycle we've seen. You get this final explosive move upward, so it would be really odd if this cycle somehow broke that trend. Now check this out. Here's the crypto total market cap, but it's excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. Technically, we're looking at the top 125 coins, and from that group, they're excluding the top 10. So we're seeing the rest of the alts here, which means XRP isn't actually included in this particular chart. But honestly, I don't think that really matters all that much. It's still pretty interesting to look at. And let's be real here. When alts decide to run, they all tend to run together. So even if XRP isn't part of this specific grouping, it's still going to move when the alt season kicks in. Alts in general are just going to take off. I mean, it has been moving lately for sure. I'm just saying we're nowhere near done yet. So here's what he wrote. Now, do you believe? A picture paints 1,000 words. This one's super bullish. Others double tap is in play, as called up nearly 15%. The fun is only just beginning. Ready for alts to rally everyone? And you can see exactly what he's talking about here. He's pointing to this double tap pattern right here that played out through 2024 and where we're sitting now in 2025. He's making the case that the exact same thing happened last cycle right before everything just absolutely exploded to the upside. And here's why this matters to all of us. Let's be honest, the real life-changing money at this point, that's going to come from altcoins, not Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Bitcoin can't hit $1 million someday. That's totally possible. But what I am saying is, especially for this cycle, the real opportunity is staring us right in the face, and it's in altcoins, not Bitcoin. Not at this stage anyway. Bitcoin's already had its massive run. Altcoins, they've been looking pretty rough in comparison price-wise. Yeah, they've been recovering a little bit, but that's exactly where the opportunity sits, when prices get beaten down like that. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache, and man, I absolutely love this one. So he's looking at an Others BTC chart, that's Others, which again, as I mentioned, is the top 125 coins by market cap, excluding the top 10, denominated in Bitcoin. And he's pointing out this falling wedge pattern that's been playing out right here. What that means is when this thing finally breaks out of this pattern, it's just going to absolutely rocket upward. Here's what he wrote. The breakout of this falling wedge, which has been in the making for over 4 years, will make many rich. It couldn't be more exciting, to be honest. Folks, that's altcoins we're talking about. That's exactly what this means. Altcoins are getting ready to take off big time. Now, if you look at something like Total 2 or Total 3, you'd actually see XRP included in those charts, which isn't the case here. But honestly, it doesn't matter one bit. They're all going to move at the same time anyway. That's just how it works, folks. That's what's sitting right in front of us if history decides to repeat itself like it usually does. And as far as I'm concerned, that's by far the most likely scenario we're looking at. Here's a post from chart analyst Cryptolica, and he's saying, easy money XRP season. And yeah, you know exactly what that means, right? We're talking about diving headfirst into one of those absolutely wild alt seasons, that easy money season, where there's this brief window of time when you're going to feel like you're the smartest financial mind on the planet. I mean, you literally can't seem to buy anything without making a pile of money on it. Until enough time goes by, the bubble eventually pops. And suddenly that's not the case anymore. But man, the ride leading up to that moment, that's the fun part right there. So here he's calling for XRP to hit around $5.50 in the short term. And honestly, that's not even that crazy when you think about it. I mean, that's really just getting this whole party started. Here's a post from chart analyst, chart nerd, and he's saying, I was calling for a 27 XRP sub 50 cents. 8 months ago, to be specific, XRP was below $1, and I called for the all-time high in 2025 and my road to 27 YouTube announces. Now, we're starting to push beyond that, and our targets are looking more realistic as we head into heat-up season. And isn't that hilarious? The higher the price climbs, some of these predictions that people throw out there start to seem way less insane. That's really all it takes. It's not like anything fundamentally changed about the project or the market. You just start climbing a little higher, and suddenly people are going, oh wait, maybe that could actually happen. Folks, this is crypto we're talking about here. Just look at literally any number of coins that have been around for a while. What happens? You can figure this out so easily. The whole asset class moves together, and then you get these massive, life-changing price swings. To think that can't happen with XRP? That's just a stupid, defeatist attitude that never made any sense whatsoever. XRP has been artificially held back for years now. What we're seeing right now is it finally playing catch-up. That's exactly what's happening as we speak. This thing is going to be worth an absolute fortune compared to where it's sitting right now. I genuinely believe that with everything I've got. Here's a post from chart analyst XRPunky, and he's saying, those fib levels above could be some little take profits area for the wave 3. I believe it could overextend to reach $13, which is my target of $10 to $15. We shall see. So here's just one more example of an analyst who's completely convinced that, yeah, we're heading straight into double-digit territory for XRP. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. Now, I don't know if he's spot on with his numbers, but $15, that's not even crazy talk anymore. This cycle, not crazy at all. This is just real life, folks. There were people just a year ago saying, oh, XRP is never going to hit $3 ever again. Where are all those people now? Where'd they disappear to? All those folks running their mouths, typing away with their stubby little fingers, spouting off all that nonsense. Where'd they all go? They've suddenly gotten real quiet, haven't they? Suddenly, they're nowhere to be found. Very, very silent all of a sudden. Here's a post from chart analyst Z Greg Crypto, and he's saying, XRP stabilizing on top of 21 EMA. We're seeing long-legged candles on the daily chart, a strong indication that the bulls are stepping in. With decreasing volume, it's evident that selling pressure is easing. This is a positive development for XRP. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the bulls can generate some green volume to break through the descending trend line. And if they succeed, the 21 EMA will act as a robust support level. However, if we don't see this momentum, we risk another sell-off that could push us below the 21 EMA on the daily time frame. And if that happens, so be it. Actually, I think this next chart analyst really hits the nail on the head here. This is Bobby A, and he said, regardless of what XRP does today, tomorrow, or the day after, it is going much higher. Let that sink in. Exactly, whatever happens, even if it takes a dip, that's totally normal. This thing isn't going to shoot straight up in a perfect line without any pullbacks along the way. Of course, it's not going to do that. But here's the thing, none of that matters in the end. It really doesn't. Either you're going to have your position when this thing hits a new all-time high and absolutely melts faces, or you're not going to be there for it. And me, I'm making sure I'll be there by doing absolutely nothing. I bought my XRP, spent years accumulating it, and then after that, I just did nothing at all. I simply held on, expecting that eventually the world would catch up to my way of thinking and start understanding just how important crypto really is. And you know what? That's exactly what's happening right now. Here's a post from chart analyst Bark, and he's saying, XRP is refueling for the biggest pump in history. Don't be sidelined. And yeah, that sounds spot on to me. I really think it's going to be exactly that. When you look at what XRP could be worth in actual US dollars, I genuinely believe this next run we're gearing up for is going to be the most massive one we've ever witnessed in its entire history. Yeah, I'm completely on board with that thinking. 100%. Here's a post from chart analyst Dark Defender, and he's throwing out a price level that I think is, and I don't want to sound disrespectful here. I'm just going to challenge what he's saying. I think it's completely out in la la land. I honestly don't think there's even the slightest chance we're going to see 3-digit XRP prices during this market cycle. Do I think it's possible we might see 3-digit XRP sometime in the future? Sure, I think that could happen eventually, but I think there's basically zero chance it goes down this cycle. Now, if I'm totally wrong about this, I'll gladly eat my words. I don't have any pride tied up in this, so I'll just own it. I'll be like, well, damn, that's incredible. Good for everyone who made bank off that. I'll happily admit I was dead wrong and just move on. I'm just being completely straight with you about what I think. The massive amount of capital that would need to flood into crypto, with Bitcoin also reaching insane heights, it's just not realistic to me. That's just my take, though. I'm not a technical analyst like he is, but he definitely knows his charts, and he's been right about a bunch of other calls, including XRP exploding this cycle. And if he turns out to be right, I'll absolutely give him full credit for it. I'll highlight that he was spot on and I was completely wrong. That's just the way it goes. But I honestly don't think this is going to happen. I just like sharing different perspectives out there, even when there are opinions I don't really agree with, I think it's worth discussing them. I'm sure some of you listening are totally with me on this. And there are probably others who think this could actually happen this cycle, in which case you're believing in some pretty wild stuff. I'm just having a bit of fun with you there. No, I totally understand that some people genuinely think it's possible. I just respectfully disagree with that whole concept. That's really what it comes down to. So anyway, here's what he said. The cooling period is about to come to an end. Now that part, I absolutely believe that's true. He says XRP is targeting $117 by surpassing Wave 3 targets of $13.13, $18.22, and $36.76. Not financial advice. Considering the historical pattern and wave structure, XRP is about to turn all haters into lovers. I don't know if that's going to happen with the hardcore Bitcoin maximalists out there, but I definitely think there are going to be a ton of really happy people. That part's absolutely right. He says June and July were hot and August will be hotter. Well, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that part turns out to be true, but no, I just can't take that $117 target seriously. I'm just being totally honest with you here. And again, if I end up being completely wrong, that's just my take on it. We're all entitled to our own opinions. This isn't meant as an attack on him or anything. It's not a shot at him whatsoever. I just think it's pretty unrealistic. I think it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. And I'd be thrilled to be proven wrong, since I don't have any ego wrapped up in this, and I won't have any problem admitting I was mistaken. I would actually love to be wrong because I know exactly what that would mean for our entire XRP community. I'm seeing so many people talking about making incredible, life-changing money way faster and bigger than they ever imagined. And honestly, I'm totally here for that energy. Who wouldn't want that, right? But here's the thing. It's just not going to happen. Not in this market cycle, folks. Look, when people start throwing around those crazy numbers, that's where I have to pump the brakes a bit. Now, don't get me wrong. This guy has nailed a bunch of other calls. Like I mentioned before, he was spot on about XRP finally breaking out of that cycle. He kept saying it would happen even when it sat there doing nothing for almost 10 years, and boom, he was right. But 117 XRP, come on, that's just not realistic. Sorry if that bursts anyone's bubble, but I've got to keep it real with you. Quick reminder though, I'm definitely not a financial advisor here. Please don't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I'm saying.